this is what was supposed to happen. Welcome. I'm Jackie Simmons, the host of the Suicide Prevention Show, where we have fun and save lives. And we are going into both of those, especially on the fun part, because we're going to explore something that I don't get to talk about very often, which is secrets. Only in this case, it's not a secret. I know it's not a secret I could even share. It's a secret only your pet knows. And it's the secret your pet knows about your vet. I can't wait. All right. So without further ado, please help me welcome into the studio, Miss Cynde Gardner. All right. The magic is still working. Hey.
Hi. How are you? I beat you.
You did. You did. All right. So
I have to say that baby elephant walk really put me in the mood for this. That was so great.
There's something about a baby elephant wearing pink high tops, you know.
How can anyone not adore that?
So it's so wonderful to see you.
It's great to see you again, too.
Yeah. All right. We are going to go into a realm that very few people ever go into. And before we take and satisfy people's curiosity about the secret that your pet knows about your vet, tell us a little bit about you, Cynde. What are all your secrets? How did you end up doing what you do?
Well, I'm a retired veterinarian. And I was retired at a very young age due to a car accident that cost me the use of my right arm and hand. And I was actually forced retired way before not too long after I got started. I was only about 10 years into practice when this all happened to me. And after spending probably close to 15 years in massive chronic pain. I did develop a chronic pain syndrome, and I had massive chronic pain, wore my shoulder as an earring due to the severity of the pain and the muscle spasms, and dealt with severe depression. I mean, I'd lost everything I had worked for, and feeling like I had no hope left in life. I was blessed to discover a gentleman who, while we were at a seminar, he walked up to me noticing that I was walking around the back of the room in massive pain. And he says, "You look like you're really uncomfortable." And I said, "Yeah, what's your first clue?" Pain on my face, the position, you know. And he says, "I can help you with that." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're a total stranger. Is this legal, ethical, moral?" And he laughed. He says, "Yeah, I'm a hypnotist." And right there in the middle of this whole big event, there were over 500 people at this event. He sat me down with everybody milling around and he hypnotized me. And I was out of pain like that for the first time in 15 years. And I knew instantly that's what I want to be when I grow up. My new career was going to be in hypnosis, starting with helping people with chronic pain. And it's evolved into working with people with stress, anxiety, because those exacerbate pain so much and wreak their own havoc, even if you don't have chronic pain. And then that evolved into me working heavily with veterinarians and their staff. And it's just been an amazing ride.
Well, we're going to take this train and roll it back up the hill just a little bit. Okay? Right, we're going to take it back up the hill. How many years were you in school to become a veterinarian?
Oh, gosh. I did my standard 4 years of undergraduate, and then I chose to do a master's in animal science. So that was another 3 years. And then I did my 4 years of vet school. And it's a long haul. The shortest you can generally get through is 8 years.
So 11 years of schooling, 10 years of practice, and then gone.
It was just, I ran out on an errand one day from my office during my supposed lunch break, which, by the way, veterinarians rarely get anything even remotely resembling a lunch break. And I had one of those rare moments, and I took off, ran out to do an errand, and got broadsided, and that ended my career.
The years of pain were not just physical.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Massively
I'm
emotional.
We kind of sped past this. I'm going, I'm not buying it. Yeah, and it's not because I want to probe your pain, but it's because I know where you are now. It's a safe conversation to have.
It is.
So for anyone listening who is dealing with chronic pain, dealing with that stored energy from a sudden impact that changes your life, take a deep breath. We'll keep it safe for you. And feel free to pop into the chat if there's something we can do to support someone, if this is a little close to home. So just now with that disclaimer, everybody can pop into the chat with whatever you want. And let's keep going, because 15 years of pain is a lot to all of a sudden have the experience of no pain. So,
and I want to reiterate something that you said. There was a period of time where this conversation would not have been safe for me. But thanks to the treatment and care and hypnosis that I've received, it is safe for me to talk about now. And that's one of the things that I really want to make available to others. And yes, going from sitting in the back of the room and looking like this, and I was literally pacing, taking notes like this because it was too painful to sit. And this gentleman worked on me, and going from this to holy cow, it's gone. It was rather startling, and it can be very confusing too. And I just want to be clear, the trauma and the damage to my neck didn't disappear like that. So all of the injury and the damage, physical damage, was still there. What this new tool gave me is a way to dial down the pain so that I can then physically move in ways and have the physical therapy that I had been undergoing for years work. And as a result, I don't sit like this anymore. I get to move freely, and I've regained the use of my hand. Yeah. So it's not a miracle cure. It's using the power of your brain to reprogram yourself.
And that's an important distinction. We're not talking woo-woo here. We're actually talking basic neuroscience, which
neuroplasticity.
The brain is malleable. We can reprogram it. And the fact that when you are under stress, whether it's from physical pain or emotional pain, perception, our bodies can't tell the difference between real pain and perceived pain, between what's happening now and a memory of what happened. All of those things create a condition in the body that prevents healing. So when that condition changed and you were no longer in that place of stress, then everything you had been doing for 15 years to heal could actually work.
Yes, exactly. I worked with creating new neural pathways in my brain to, first of all, believe I could do it. That was the basic part, to believe that I could change the status of my life. And that was probably the single hardest part of the whole thing. Once I got that belief ingrained in myself, the rest of the steps and the rest of the process was extremely simple. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it was extremely simple. And that's one of the things that I want people to understand on a very deep level, is that it does not have to be a complicated process.
Oh, yes.
Simple is the best.
Okay, so I'm going to name an elephant in the room. And there are people who may not know this, but I suspect that you do. Veterinarians have the highest suicide rate of any white-collar profession.
Yes.
Why?
And the technicians and the rest of their staff.
Why?
And it's rising. There are multiple factors. In my book, When Good Enough is Perfect, I list in detail and explain all of the reasons why. We don't have enough time here for me to go into that kind of detail. So just understanding the degree of stress a veterinarian is under day in and day out. The fact that
okay, so wait a minute, hold it. You have to understand. My version of a veterinarian comes from All Creatures Great and Small. James Herriot series of books. I
said, I'm sorry.
So from that, very prosaic, I mean, granted, there was some stress, middle of the night phone calls, this kind of thing, but it was not the chronic stress that I'm seeing in the industry here.
Right. Right. The book gives a very broad overview of what certain portions of the field are like. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we love playing with those puppies and kittens when they come in. That's wonderful for us. But that is such a minor part of what we do in a day. We are bound by regulations that are very challenging for us. And it's difficult sometimes for us to explain these regulations to a client when you're in the exam room and you've got a sick pet right here, and you've got a distraught owner across the table from you, and you begin talking finances and legalities and emotions. When you tie those three things together, especially the finances and the emotional involvement, that's a very volatile situation for most people. And trying to balance everything to do the best that we can for that pet. And this is the secret, that the main secret that your pet would really like for you to know about veterinarians. And that is, we go into it for the pets. We want the absolute best outcome for that pet. And between government restraints and owner restraints, we have a very challenging time doing what we know in our mind that pet needs.
Okay, so say more about this, because I understand the pet owner restraints. I've been a pet owner.
Yeah.
I've been across the table from a veterinarian multiple times where there were decisions that needed to be made.
Mhm.
Where does legality come into this?
Oh, we are so regulated. Uh, Many times people would love for us to just give them some medication and hope it works. Okay, well, legally, we can't do that because we have to have a specific, and we're required to document all of this. We have to have a specific doctor, patient, client relationship.
Okay.
All three pieces have to be there as documented. And when we are missing one or more of those pieces, then we are 100% liable for what happens to your pet. Even though
I'm confused. I mean,
okay.
We're talking about the pet's there, the
Uh-huh.
the pet owner is there,
Pet owner's there.
and the veterinarian is there. So all three pieces are there.
Okay, but
All right.
the finances, this is just one example.
Oh, okay.
Finances limit what we can do. And when we can't do the testing, do the x-rays, do whatever it is needed to get a proper diagnosis, we have to work off of gut instinct on this. And obviously our medical knowledge with years of training and our experience in the field.
And if you guess wrong, you go broke.
Yeah.
Okay,
because the next thing that creates the challenge is then that person who feels that the veterinarian did not listen to them and their requests and say, for example, no, I can't do those tests. I can't do the x-rays. I can't do anything but have you just look at it. And then the doctor works to do the best they can for that individual with the limited information they have.
Got it.
And the outcome doesn't go the way either the owner or the veterinarian would like. Then the owner gets mad at the veterinarian whose hands were tied, because had they been given the opportunity to do a better workup to know what was really going on.
Okay, so you guys are being asked to shoot in the dark a lot because of finance. Okay.
Yeah, and that's just one simple example. Okay. So, and that's then where the next step in terms of what makes this such a difficult job with such a high rate of suicide, and that is bullying and cyberbullying. And bullying by clients is running rampant right now. And it's really sad because let's bop back to what your pet knows about your veterinarian. And that is that veterinarian wants to do the best they can within the parameters of all the legalities and the owner restrictions and everything else. They want the absolute best outcome for that pet. We don't always get it. And even when we do have all that information, we're working with a live critter that sometimes just simply doesn't respond in the standard expected way. And that's because each individual pet is so unique. And oftentimes we get told, oh, you're just in it for the money. And I'll tell you, that's one of the phrases that I hate the most. When I was in practice, when I heard that, it would devastate me because I knew why I was in that business. And it was not for the money. It was for those little critters or big critters, depending on whether they're large or small animal.
Well, given everything that you've just explained about the veterinarian industry, it sounds a lot like what I'm hearing the pressure of the medical industry is under as well.
Yes, it is in many, many ways. Insurance makes it a little easier for the MDs, we do have pet insurance. So, that is something that pet owners, I encourage them to research and look into to take some of the burden off. But yes, MDs and especially nurses are being bullied and really taking the brunt of everybody's stress right now. And it has escalated beyond belief during this COVID lockdown.
Two things have happened that I'm aware of, which were you brought up when you said, I said something about veterinarians and you said something about and the technicians and the,
yes.
In the medical industry, they have done lots of studies about the suicide rate among doctors and none about the suicide rate among nurses until just recently. And now they're bandying about new words like compassion fatigue.
Oh, that's not new.
Well, it is
to the general public.
Yeah, it is to most of us. It is to I'm part of the rest of us because I'm not in the field. Yeah. So for those of us who are not in the field. So how did it come about that you ended up full circle and you're back into working with veterinarians and their practices?
My heart.
I mean, you kind of got to you didn't get a get out of jail free card, but given all of the challenges of being a veterinarian, you got a chance to pivot out of that. Actually, you were forced to pivot out of it.
I was going to say that was not what I would consider an opportunity.
No, you were forced out and it gave you a very different perspective. I mean, you wouldn't be able to have the perspective you have if you had stayed in. But why did you go back in?
Because my heart is still being a veterinarian. I'm still in that. That is me. That is who I am. I can't serve the pets any longer. I spent 15 years not being able to use this hand effectively enough, and honestly, dropping scalpels into abdomens is something I considered very tacky. So I did retire when all happened. But then with my added information and education in hypnosis, neuroplasticity, and I don't know if you know this, but I am a certified compassion fatigue specialist too. So there we go. Interesting that you brought that one
up. Hit me with your best shot. There you go. I set you up perfectly, and I had
you set me up beautifully. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm also what I like to call a hypnotic coach, hypnotic life coach. And when I started just putting all of these things together and seeing the incredible need in my peers in terms of the veterinary field, I saw the need and I saw a way to put it all together and create programs that I now offer to veterinarians. See, I lost my.
It just flew right out of your ear.
Well, I'm a very busy person, so that happens to me occasionally. But anyway, I saw the need and a way to incorporate all of the skills that I have incorporated over the years. And so it just came fairly naturally to me, at least in my mind, to develop programs using these skills for veterinarians and their staff. And once I get to a certain point in this, I'm also going to be offering it to MDs and nurses and dentists who also struggle with the same or extremely similar issues.
That makes perfect sense. And it's a lovely vision that you will be out and doing more in all of those arenas. We have such a shift that has occurred in the world where normal doesn't apply, that anything that brings some stability, some peace of mind, some relief from the chronic tension and from the isolation, we can start to believe that nobody cares, that nobody notices. And that isolation we know is deadly. It's not good for anybody.
It's terrible. And I want to point out too, that isolation is felt by veterinarians even when they're seeing clients in person, because they see them only professionally, only for a structured period of time, and they're only allowed to, time-wise and everything else, to communicate on certain levels with them. And they don't get the opportunity for the positive feedback. For example, when a pet does respond the way that we want it to, we don't hear about it. We just hear nothing from the client. Okay, pet got better. Since we didn't hear, we assume it was fine. But we hear constantly from the pet owners where the situation didn't go exactly the way that we planned.
So it's all negative feedback.
It's not all, but it's such a high percentage of it. Yeah, it's predominantly negative feedback that we end up receiving. And because, the pet owners have a tendency to say, oh, thank heavens, I don't have to go back for another visit. She's doing so great. And they don't even call and say, hey, tell doc she's doing really well and thank you. They don't think that step. They just think, oh, good, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Yeah. And so the feedback that we get tends to be mostly negative. And that leaves that isolated, alienated feeling in your career, because people in general, have a series of personal needs. There's basically 5 personal needs that each individual has. And we all have them all, but we have generally 1 or 2 that are predominant for us. And these personal needs are what kind of guide our perception of life. And if our personal, and this is for anyone, not just doctors, if our personal needs are not being met to at least a reasonable degree, then that sense of stress and dissatisfaction and feeling disjointed, etc., can really become overwhelming. And when that happens, we end up creating personal isolation for ourselves, in addition to those being put on us by external forces that we have no control over. And one of the things that I strongly encourage people to do, because so often, I know it was very true in my case, we don't understand what our personal needs are. And if you don't understand them, how can you make sure they're being met?
Well, yeah, I mean, awareness is the key to everything. So from a place of helping us become more aware, Cynde, what are the 5 personal needs?
Well, I also have a free gift.
I know, don't worry, we got you covered there.
You got that. Well, the personal needs are freedom, competency, I can't believe I'm going to do this. Self-expression.
There we go. Funny that you choked on self-expression.
Yeah. that actually is. So security. And oh my gosh, nothing like being put on the spot right now. Freedom.
Okay, let's take out each one and we'll get to it.
And when I get to that one, I'll know what I haven't covered.
Okay, freedom.
So freedom is freedom, just they have a need for freedom. They think, oh, creativity. Thank you. That's the other one. They think outside the box. And
Got it.
they don't like heavy rules being placed on them. That gives them a sense of restriction in their mind. And when you compare that to the security person, who those same rules give them a sense of security, they give them a framework to work in. You can see how the same environment for one person would be, oh my God, I know how to go do this and I know how to get it done right. Why do I have to follow each and every one of those steps when I know a way to get around it and get it done?
Were you following me around in math class? This is like, really, you want me to show you the steps? It's going to take so long.
Yeah, it's like, I know how to get the answer. Let me just get the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas that same exact structure for a person who is security and safety based, where that's one of their personal needs, that gives them the framework and the structure to build what for them is a flourishing life. Now, one of the important parts of knowing your personal needs and be able to read the personal needs of others is that, I'll use myself as an example. My parents both were strong security people. They needed structure. They needed the guidelines. They wanted a roadmap to get everywhere. And they were extremely successful people. But that structure was very important to them. I, on the other hand, am very freedom oriented. And I did not know this until when I was given the 5 to go through the review guide, I had in my head exactly what I thought my response was going to be. Nope. Doing the actual steps of figuring it out was a real eye-opener for me. And that's when I discovered that I am definitely a freedom person. And all of those structures and rules that were so important to my parents drove me insane. And they considered me to be a rebel.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. I was the rebel kid. And when in fact, I have my brain functions differently. I see things differently than they did. And it's important to embrace everybody's differences in that. And your personal needs will often shift at different stages of life.
Ah, there we go.
Yes. So it's important to reevaluate them periodically in life.
Well, and that's very different than most assessments out there. Most assessments measure something that is a little more static, a little more fixed.
Right.
And your fascination with neuroplasticity, I am not a bit surprised that you have something that actually is something that changes, and you know that it's going to change, that your needs are going to change. All right. So we covered freedom and we covered security. Okay. So let's come back into belonging.
I forgot belonging. So there's freedom. If I wasn't on live video here, I would be rattling things off. I know. I watched.
Yeah, come on. You got tools.
And your calm and confidence. I was watching your show. It was great. I loved it. So freedom, security, belonging, safety, and self-expression. Those are the 5.
Ah,
Yeah, I told you once we
okay.
got to actually talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's
cool.
belonging.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And belonging is that's someone who really is a team player. It's important for them to have a group of people that they feel comfortable in. And honestly, during this last year, these people who are naturally belonging people have suffered the most because they've been kept apart from their groups. These are also great team members at work.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to be the boss. Those are the competency people.
Oh, we haven't gotten, yeah. Okay.
I'm going all over the place. I do that.
Well, yeah, I know. And I'm going to pull you back in. Okay. You are freedom-based. So there are no rules. Got that. But where I want to know is competency under security?
No, it's its own thing too. So
okay, so now we're
freedom. I know. I do that to people.
You're going to do it to me. I get it.
I am. I think I get to going on a roll.
Safety and security, are they the same thing?
Safety and security are the same.
Okay, so that's where the confusion came in.
Is that where I confused you? Sorry.
That's where you confused me.
Yeah, safety and security are the same.
Competency is its own thing.
Competency is its own thing. And that's I think of the surgeon who is he or she knows that what he does or she does is critical. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they can be in a life or death situation, which veterinarians often are on a daily basis, by the way. And I thought that was going to be my top one, because I really like to know that people appreciate what my competencies are. They see me as competent. They develop a feeling of trust from me, that I know what is best for their pets. And that's another area where this last year in particular has really hit these individuals. And that's because so much doubt, there's been so much misinformation, and I'm not going into which direction is misinformation or which is
misinformation, period.
Yes. Misinformation is running rampant these days. So it has created doubt in the competency of doctors. And that's really sad. And that hits them at their deepest place.
Oh, I get it. Because I'm thinking of medical teams, and yet I understand a doctor has a team who supports him.
Yes.
But the doctor is known for their own competency.
Mm-hmm. As is each team member.
Right.
They want to, be. So the belonging person doesn't want to be the leader. That's your competency person.
Got it.
And they want to be a part of the team that supports this competency person.
It doesn't mean they don't have competency in their own area as part of the team.
We all have
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. And that's one of the reasons why it can shift at different stages of life and different times in your life.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we've sort of covered freedom and security and competency and belonging. That means we are left with self-expression, and I'm assuming creativity comes.
Creativity and self-expression are together there. And this is the person that on the handout that I give to people sometimes when I work with them on this individually, I have a picture of a nurse with multiple colored hair. And she is her own self. She is expressing herself. Self-expression, even within the confines of the rules of the doctor's office or hospital or whatever, that's her little breakout thing, where she says, I get to express myself in this way.
Got it.
And this can be somebody that, for example, loves flowy dresses, or a gentleman who likes to dress very flamboyantly. It can be typically artistic type of people fit into this category.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be able to share their talents, even if they don't feel safe and secure getting out there and doing it. So think of the person who lives in a very rural area, for example, and does the amazing artwork that is their style, that they love. They send it off to someone else to be the front person and be the face of their work. They are the ones they are the ones where self-expression is their primary need.
And I'm thinking that's where self-expression and security, those two together, would show up. I can express myself, and I don't have to expose myself to ridicule or criticism or whatever. And that's really where self-awareness is really useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is all about self-awareness. And then this goes off into the emotional intelligence area. These are kind of some of the bases that you learn about yourself so that you can increase your emotional intelligence, which has been determined to be a much more important factor than the IQ. So the EQ is more important in IQ when you're measuring the success of an individual.
It was really interesting. I started doing some research into this recently, both in learning and into what are the markers that could accurately predict success. And it's shocking what I was raised to believe were the markers of success have they're really poor predictors. Really poor predictors. And it is the ability to connect, to bond, to cooperate, to feel connected. These are much more indicative, apparently, is the studies that are coming in.
Self-awareness is the first one. Self-regulation is second.
Yep, that's
and
your
then
EQ.
Then that's your personal part. And then public awareness or awareness of others. And then the ability to manage groups.
Yep. And
those are the four
manage
pillars.
Groups or manage yourself within groups? I'm a little confused.
It's a combination, because managing yourself is step 2.
Right.
But for a leader to manage a group, they need all 4.
Oh, yeah. No doubt at all. No doubt at all. What we're
that's moving yourself into a leadership position. You would be very interested in all 4 steps.
And that's critical. I mean, as I'm certifying talk leaders and looking to work with teens who are willing to perceive themselves as leaders to take the talks that save lives into the world, I'm finding that leadership is very misunderstood. So it sent me back to educating myself on that.
It's not bossiness.
Well, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Oh, but I am going to be highly directed for just a few minutes because we have yet to reveal the secret that the pet knows about the pet. I want to highlight it more.
You want to highlight it? Okay.
I want to highlight it. I don't want anybody to say, but I watched this whole thing and I didn't get it. So let's open it up just a little more because I heard it and then we went on so fast because this has been such a juicy conversation.
Sorry, I get going.
I don't know what you have to be sorry about, but I'll accept that.
Okay, so the secret that your pet knows is that even though your veterinarian is in it 100% for, okay, probably not 100%. We've got to have a little room for making a living for ourselves, but they are in it heavily for caring for the individual pet. Their stress level is so high right now because of the challenges of being a practicing veterinarian.
So that's been true for veterinarians for a really long time. It's not anything. It's the statistic that was really scary. One of my friends.
It's terrifying. Yes.
Yeah. That's all she does is help veterinarians redesign their practices so they can actually survive in them. Mm-hmm. And the power of this. So what the pet knows is that the veterinarian was not equipped for the job emotionally in many cases.
In many cases.
And they're still in it for the pet. So the pet knows the veterinarian's really in it for them, even though they may not come across that way because of the stress.
To the owner.
To the owner, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool.
And they still, there's a definite trend of improvement here, but they still don't teach the people skills and the emotional skills in school that are necessary. And that's why someone like me who can work with these individuals, it becomes so important after they graduate. And I get to take all of that beautiful knowledge and passion that they graduated with and their excitement for going forward in this amazing career that they have dreamed of and worked hard for all their life, and turn it into something that they can keep their passion for. And one of my taglines is, I help them move from frazzled to dazzled by their lives.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. So we have dropped in the chat for you all the guide for your personal needs, a personal needs review. And I really appreciate the fact that it's a simple step-by-step process. And so that's for everyone. Take advantage of that. It's not just for veterinarians. It is applicable to everyone's life, just like understanding the 5 needs and the 4 pieces of leadership. Right now, we are all in a position where we have to be able to lead ourselves, especially with the work at home model. You know, we don't have the structures. Anyone who needed a lot of structure has also been struggling. So there's probably not a personal needs that wasn't impacted by this. And for some of them, the autonomy, I mean, somebody whose thing is freedom, the autonomy of being in a virtual world. Yeah, you love it. I can see that you absolutely love it. So
yeah, it's ideal for me.
Yeah. And so there's no perfect, good, bad, up, down. What's right for one is not right for all.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong in this.
The greatest
Every
thing,
one of them is equal. It's just about understanding who you are.
Awesome. Perfect way to end that. Cynde, thank you so much for being willing to come on the show and take us on this journey. You know, It's
Thank
an
you very
arena.
much.
Oh, Cynde, you're very welcome. It's an arena that most of us, if we're not in the field, we don't recognize it in the field. Yeah. So how would we know?
How would you know unless people like me get out there and share it?
There we go. Thank you for sharing your time.
Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.